This is like the 50th fucking time I've started this, so this is has to be the last one because I've spent like 40 minutes trying to record this bitch already. Yeah, so this is a podcast I want to do because I don't really put out a lot of content on the internet. And that's mainly because I either get stressed about putting it out, so I just don't, or I don't really have a lot of time to put into my creative ideas. So I feel like having this podcast is a good way to kind of bridge that gap of not putting out content and kind of sharing my creative ideas. So, yeah. And besides that, I am in my 20s now, and therefore my opinion has to be widespread on the internet, or else I'm not an actual person. It's kind of like if a tree falls in the forest kind of deal. But yeah, so I hope you guys enjoy this first episode. This is Laughing Into the Void with your host, Colin. That's me. I'm sure you could deduce that by yourself, but yeah, so I'll just get into the topics. So the first one I wanted to go over was shitting in the dark. So basically, if I wake up and I shit in the dark, I have no other responsibilities to anyone except for myself in that moment. And I'm completely alone with my thoughts, and it's just a very primal feeling that I really owe nothing to anyone during those 5 to 10 minutes of me taking a shit alone in the dark by myself, as opposed to shitting with someone else. Well, during the day, it's a lot of me having some expectation and construct of who I am and like what I need to do, and other people having expectations of me. So basically, like, when I shit in the dark, that's when I'm truly free. Other people might go on like roller coasters or something, but roller coasters are like skydiving and they feel free, but my skydiving is waking up at 2:30 in the morning and heading to the bathroom alone. And yeah, I'm not exactly sure what I want to get out of that topic. I think it has something to do with the expectation of yourself and just being who you truly are, because be the person you are when you shit in the dark, because if you're not, you'll end up unhappy. And if you want to draw less meaning from it, like any other sane human would, I would say just don't eat cheese or some shit before bed, if you don't want to have that moment of solitude. But it's quite a beautiful thing if you decide to. So yeah. In other news, I had a dream the other day that I was playing baseball or sitting on the bench in a baseball game as it was in real life, more accurately. And basically we were running up the score quite a bit, and I was kind of struggling with the idea, like, it shouldn't really be this easy. Like, previous baseball games I've had, it's been close, or like there's been some challenge, but in this game, it's just we were just scoring runs and we were just doing so much better, which I didn't really understand why. But then as the innings progressed, I noticed that we were playing a school of disabled kids in baseball, which I'm not sure how the school organization, like the athletic organization, would let that pass. And what that says about me for having a dream that I was playing a school of disabled children in baseball and also winning and running up the score. Time for me to dissect this. What does playing baseball against disabled children in a dream say about me? I mean, one way you could look at it is my self-confidence and my athletic ability is so low, in that I would need to play against someone that's physically impaired to have any chance of winning, which is a bit kind of surface level, but I think it might be true to some effect because I was asked when I played baseball. So I guess that's part of it. I guess another part would be I didn't realize, do physically disabled people play baseball? Because it's a sport where you kind of like need everything. It's like swimming. Actually, not like swimming. Because you have like buoyancy no matter what. But if you can't like run to the base, then like you're kind of fucked. Or if you can't like, if you don't have like hands, you can't swing the bat. Or like you can, but you can't hit it like far. So I'm trying to figure out like the logistics of how one would play baseball as a disabled person. I guess that doesn't really matter in this case. It's more of a reflection on me and kind of my relationship with my previous self as a sports player. I guess if I were to put it in a few sentences, it would be that I'm so self-conscious that I need to picture myself. I'm so self-conscious about my athletic ability at this point because I'm fucking old and can't really do anything. My knees click when I squat down. My friends say I have Megan's knees, which I guess I'll throw that up here, right here. Basically, like they click. Yeah, I'm old and I need to. My physical prowess only shows itself against someone that is not physically able, I guess you could say. Moving on. So I have a Would You Rather segment for you guys. This one's actually pretty near to my heart. So I think it was a couple of years ago, or no, it was last year. I was at my friend's house and we were playing Would You Rather. And so I did one of these things where I just kind of dug into a rabbit hole. As a normal person would do, they dig into like a rabbit hole on YouTube or something, but I tend to dig into a rabbit hole of Would You Rather. So here's what I came up with. I think you'll really enjoy this. All right, so the Would You Rather. Would you rather build a Boeing 747 alone, and you have all the instruction manuals, you're provided housing, but you have to make your own food, and you get a $20 Chipotle stipend per week, but delivery takes an hour and a half, so the Chipotle is soggy and cold once it gets to you. Other than that, actually building the plane, you can call the help support line if you get stuck and the instruction manuals don't work or like you're confused on the instruction manuals. Monday to Thursday during regular business hours 9 to 5 or Friday 9 to 3, but you're put on hold for at least 30 minutes at a time and you can't call at any other times outside of those hours. So if you call, they just won't answer. So yeah, you have all that. You're given all the equipment. And when you're building the plane, it's not like you're putting all the screws in and shit. Like you have like all the big pieces put together, but you have to basically slot the big pieces together to make the plane functional. And so I don't know if I said this, but you get 5 years to do the plane or you die. And the plane has to be able to work. Like it has to be up to the industry standard of Boeing 747s for flight. So you get 5 years to do that under all these conditions. Or you have a death match with a silverback gorilla. So for the silverback gorilla, you get to choose the arena. So if you want to fight in like the desert because you think like a silverback gorilla would get dehydrated in the desert more quickly than you, I guess. I don't fucking know. You could pick like a desert arena or you could pick like a forest arena. So your choice of environment. And you can pick one weapon out of these three. So you can pick a bow and arrow, but the tip of the you get 10 arrows. Bow and arrow, you get 10 arrows, and it's like the practice bow and arrows where it's like the blunt tip, where it's like not like sharp. So you get 10 of those, which could definitely like penetrate skin, but the thing is you'd have to be accurate, and you'd have to be able to pull the bow and arrow, or pull the bow back very far to really cause any damage. So that's the first one. The second one is a 7-foot spear. So when I was thinking of this, the 7-foot spear is good because it keeps the silverback at a distance. If you took the spear, you could keep the silverback at a distance, where if you had the bow and arrow, you would have to basically like get it right from the beginning, because obviously the silverback is going to charge you. So you have to like shoot the silverback like when the match right begins, or else you're kind of fucked. But with the spear, you could like throw it or something. You could go retrieve it. We're assuming that the gorilla doesn't know how to use a spear in this situation. Besides that, a spear is also good for keeping the gorilla at distance. I would not want a gorilla that's trying to kill me to be within, say, like 5 feet of my body. So if you're looking for like a distance melee weapon, I'd say that's pretty good. And the third option is to get a gun. I know what you're thinking. Obviously, I would take the gun, but you get no bullets. And basically, you have to search for the bullets. The bullets are hidden around the arena. So if you're in like the desert, they'd be like hidden in the sand. And say there are 100 bullets hidden in the sand, and say it's like a Coliseum type arena. So it's like a decently big arena, and you have to find the bullets to be able to use them. So basically, bow and arrow, 7-foot spear, or handgun, like pistol, but you have to find the bullets in the sand and like load it and like do all that shit before. Yeah, so basically either build a Boeing 747 and waste 5 years of your life and then get executed if you don't finish it or it's not functional. Or have a death match with a silverback gorilla in which you have the choice of 3 weapon options. Bow and arrow, spear, or gun with no bullets. I would say personally, I feel like my engineering skills are probably better than my hand-to-hand combat skills. So I think I would be leaning toward the Boeing 747, but just having to cook for myself would kind of be a downer, because I make plain chicken with white rice, and that's a regular meal. That's probably like 2-3 times a week, because I just can't make myself put in the effort to eat food that's seasoned. You could probably already tell that by the paleness of my skin, but yeah, and also the Chipotle stipend would also be kind of a downer, because like you get something different, but it's not good. It's like when you go to Chipotle, you're expecting it to be like a certain quality, but when it's like an hour and a half drive to get from the Chipotle to your house or whatever the hangar you're living in with the Boeing 747, you're expected to, or like that burrito is going to be soggy as fuck by the time it gets to you. So I feel like I'm pretty adept at just like reading shit and figuring it out, like in terms of like reading documentation from like coding or whatever. So I feel like having the instruction manuals would be very helpful for me, and that I could basically just like follow that like a Lego kit and put shit together. But there's also that learning curve of like figuring out how like the equipment and shit works in the lab, or where you're building it, like what machine puts this together and does this or whatever. But when it comes to the silverback, because I'm like kind of a humanoid or a gorillanoid, would be from the perspective of a gorilla, I feel like the gorilla might have some sympathy for me, like that I'm put in this situation where I have to fight for my life against it. And It's like when it's like fighting something you know is like basically defenseless against you. You have to do it, but like it feels bad, so you may not go as hard on it. So I guess if I get like a empathetic gorilla, I might have a chance in that situation. But in terms of the weaponry, I feel like a gun would be optimal, as it would in pretty much any other situation. But finding the bullets would definitely be something that would turn me off of that, because I don't want to turn my back to a gorilla that's charging at me, and finding the shit's going to take time. So I guess I think I would have to go with the bow and arrow, because if you have the 10 arrows, like hypothetically you could reuse them if you miss, but you'd have to get them from like the tree or like wherever they sprayed. Or if they're stuck in the gorilla, they're kind of gone. But basically, I feel like I would do the bow and arrow because it would give me the best fighting chance of staying alive. And I did take archery when I was like 11, so I feel like there has to be some hand-eye coordination that traverses through or like carries through to me doing that. So I feel like the bow and arrow would definitely be the best course of action in my case. Now that I think about it more, I might choose the gorilla, because that's a lot more of an exciting death, in that I chose to go into an arena with a gorilla thinking that I had the chance over building a Boeing 747 for 5 years with having minimal communication with the outside world. So, yeah, it is a much more exciting death, but I feel like it would be a lot more painful than the 747. So I guess it's like a matter of if you want to experience the physical pain of getting torn apart by a silverback gorilla potentially if you lose, or even if you win, you probably still would. Or the mental pain of being alone for 5 years, building a 747 and eating soggy Chipotle with some shitty food that you made. In summary, I think I'd still go with the Boeing 747 if I want to live. If I want to live, 747. If I want to die a hero, probably the gorilla. Besides that, I want to talk about how the internet's been cooking my brain, and I think that's because I've had a few thoughts over the past month that have kind of been on the spectrum thoughts. And I don't say that in a derogatory way. I say that as in I'm just a fucking idiot. I guess you can take that how you want, but basically I was making spaghetti a couple weeks ago, and I had the thought, like, is the spaghetti smart enough to know that I have to make it go both ways in the boiling pot? And does it have to be flexed like a certain way for the spaghetti to get like soft? So basically, does spaghetti cook if you only turn it clockwise, if you only stir it clockwise? Which I found was the case. You can stir spaghetti only clockwise and it still work, but my cooking skills are so poor that I don't know the most basic things of how you should stir spaghetti, I guess, is the takeaway. Another thing I kind of had some thoughts on was the phrase chronically online. And so it's pretty much what it sounds like. Like, if someone is chronically online, then that means they're always on the internet and don't really go outside and do other things. But the thought I had was calling someone chronically online is kind of like a paradox, because in order to know what chronically online is, you'd have to be chronically online, and hence you'd be calling someone chronically online while you're chronically online. So basically, when someone on TikTok calls you chronically online, just know that their life is sad, maybe not as sad as your life, but it's definitely sad because they're chronically online. So, yeah, take that as you will. So I want to go over some TikToks, watch some TikToks to end off this thing. Just things that kind of touched my spirit and made me happy or just kind of like entertained me, I guess. So here's the first one. All right, so you just saw that. I just saw that. I'm guessing these people are from Southern Asia based on kind of like what they're wearing, and I honestly, that could just be me being racist, but because that bike tells me it's like South Asia, but I guess it doesn't really matter for this scenario. They're just like so free when they do this, like spinning what looks like, I don't even know, like a top that's like 2 feet tall with a bike that's turned to its side is like, that's like art in itself. Because who would think to do that? And second off, they're like whipping it to make it go faster with these, I'm guessing they're like cattle whips or some shit. I'm not really versed on my cattle wrangling skills. But it looks like a cattle type thing. And they're just whipping it. 2 guys are whipping it on the opposite ends to make it spin faster. I don't know. It's just, they're so free and happy in the moment. And it makes me want to be like them. I don't know. There's just something divine about this too. There's something like pure about this that I can't really put into words. I guess if you're hip on literature or some shit, you can tell me like what the fuck's going on here. But yeah, this next one I don't think I can draw very much meaning from it, but I thought it was extremely entertaining. You've probably seen it as well if you're chronically online like I am. Oh, fuck. I don't really have much to say about that. That's just, it's like when you're on the highway and it's raining and you don't even need the wipers on because the water is just going over the car so fast. And that's like the water from this guy's hands being pushed off by the fart air that other man was producing, which is quite impressive. Like, if I had the bowel strength to produce like Dyson level air, I might do like a talent show or put that like in some type of video somehow. I don't know. But that's just incredible. So yeah, that's about it. That's about all I had. Just some administrative things. I plan on doing this every 2 weeks up until a certain point and then try to do it every week. If you have any topics you think I should cover, comment below. Like and subscribe. It really encourages me to make more content for you guys. So, yeah, I'd appreciate it. And yeah, that's about it. Thank you. Goodbye.
I took it to the club last night, ordered up a couple bottles of the goose. She dancing on the spot all night, empty bottles got a feeling real loose. I took it to the with the